I feel like we get a lot of attention from wherever we go from a lot of different people. They always play the little game to where they want to know which one's which.
Like it's having your support system there all the time, and it's a different connection than other
Feeling more
siblings.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
it's awesome. It's like, you're
Definitely experience, and it's definitely a life, you can't take for granted when you have an identical twin. It's just different from having anything. It's awesome.
like I said, it's a gift. You're born
gift.
basically with like a built-in best friend, and
somebody to be there and go through the same experiences as you, so you have
Yeah.
somebody to always talk to about it,
and someone who's also a lot like you. So
Yeah.
you're always on the same kind of level, same
on the
ground.
same page with a lot of most things.
It's so much easier to understand each other. So it's definitely a gift. It really is.
Tara and I, of course, we don't know anything different, but we love being twins. We've always shared everything. We've done a lot of things together. We've always had a built-in best friend, and we've always said that we were made for each other.
For both of us, our answer always is we don't know what it's like not to be twins.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine not being a twin. My whole life, I've always had this other person to talk to play with, to complain to. This other person that literally knows every single detail about my life.
It really is a gift, and we do not take it for granted. Don't take it
no
for
other
granted if you have a
identical
twin.
No identical twin should.
And we're here to make a video for the Twin SLA project. I think that sometimes I use plural pronouns more than maybe someone who's not a twin, especially when I talk about activities that Andrea and I do together. If someone asks me, what do you do for fun? Sometimes I say, well, because a lot of times I spend my time with Andrea, if not Andrea, other friends, and so I don't spend that much time alone sometimes, but most of the fun activities I do with Andrea or with someone else, so I usually say, we do this, we like this, and then I correct myself later. So sometimes I use plural pronouns, but the more independent time I have, I think the more singular pronouns I use.
Just when I'm talking or if I'm making a plan for the future, I'll tend to say we a lot. And it's usually including my sister on my future plans of if we're going to move and when we're going to do something. So I include her in a lot of life decisions and plans. And most of the times it's using the term we. Do you have anything to say about it?
No, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
us.
We're in the same program in grad school, so a lot of times when I'm talking about school, I really got to include him, we, us, that kind of thing. And then especially if we're planning something together, like to go somewhere or anything like that. Or
it's just so normal, we'll always say me, we, us, and like some people, they'll be like, do you mind if you both come in for this meeting at the same time?
Yeah.
Or do you mind if I include your brother in this email too? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We do, especially when we talk about when we were little and what we like to do. For example, when we were little, we loved playing basketball, or we loved to play outside all day. I've noticed that as I've gotten older, we've had more experiences that were separate, that now I use, obviously the singular pronoun then, but when I refer to my childhood, that's a lot of times with we.
So I think that we use plural pronouns a lot more than normal people do. We've kind of always had this little saying with each other. We say, I'm a we, not a me. And it's kind of silly, but I guess we've always referred to ourselves as what we are doing and where we are going and what's going on with us. It's kind of, we've always been together, until we moved away from each other. We've always been together and we always did everything together. So we were always using plural pronouns.
And I think now that we've moved away from each other, it's kind of weird because people that I interact with every day, some of them know I'm a twin, some of them may not know I'm a twin, but I still find when someone asks questions about my family, or even something like my birthday, I always find I reply our.
I do the same thing.
And it's kind of weird because you're not there and people don't associate me as a we.
Well, actually...
Yeah, our mothers told us about when we were, before we could even speak, we had this weird kind of...
it's kind of like just our own little language.
Weird baby language that nobody understood, but we'd be talking and having these long, elaborate conversations,
We got hold of a video.
Laughing and stuff,
We got hold of a video when I think we were about one, and one of us is sitting on the couch, the other's on the floor, and the whole time we're having this weird conversation. it's not even English, but it's a language that we both
and
understood.
we understood each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really really incredible to watch. Yeah.
People told us that we had an early twin language. I do not remember it, but we have heard from other people that we did have a twin language.
Well, I think our parents told us when we were about 4 years old, or whenever we began speaking, maybe 2 or 3, we talked to each other a lot, but it wasn't really understandable to other people. And I called Andrea Dado because I couldn't pronounce Andrea, so I called her Dado. Yeah, and I called Ashley Atye because I couldn't pronounce the sh sound. So that was when we were little. And sometimes when we were younger, we would laugh at the same things. If she was laughing, I would laugh, and we would just talk to each other and laugh at the same time for no reason.
We never really developed some language other than English. Like, we used to joke about it, and we would come up with stupid little things and call it, like, our little language. Like, we would make, like, a click sounds that would mean, like, you know, things like yes and no, or things like that. But we never really had, like, a real childhood twin language like you see some twins have.
Yeah, I think we always had a way of understanding each other on a different level, but never like a structured language.
Yeah, it was pretty much English. English and inside jokes.
We had early twin language that my mom talked about, just gibberish, but we understood each other perfectly, and she couldn't, but she said my older sister Melissa could sometimes understand what we were saying to her.
And for me, I would say that I don't really feel like our communication is that unique. I feel like we have some things we do, some ways we communicate that, you know, I've seen with close friends. If you're close friends with someone, you know, like their typical mannerisms. Maybe you have a signal that you use. For example, we have a signal when we're together somewhere and I want to go, but I don't want to say that I want to go. I just look at Ashley and do like this, and she knows that it means I want to go. But I don't think it's unique for us being twins. I think sisters who aren't twins would do the same thing. So I don't really think that we have a unique form of communication, really.
Well, you know, of course. Well, you know, it's really I could just look at him from across a room, and he's gonna know.
Yeah, we know how he's gonna feel about what's going on, and how he's gonna feel about what's going on.
You know exactly what the other's thinking, and
how they're
what their mindset is.
Yeah,
especially if we're in a kind of a different situation or a certain type of situation where we're like, hey, man,
going into any situation where we're there together, you know, we usually have the same kind of
and
feelings going in.
And that's the thing. It's not a lot of times. It's not much more than just a glance, like to know exactly
what's going on. Yeah,
and what mood they're in, what they're feeling.
Yeah.
And of course, there's certain words. I'll just say a certain word. If there's something out there that kind of reminds me of something, I'll just say one word about that something that it reminds me of, and then
it's a person, a place, or
place, thing,
something
anything
we've watched,
anything. And then it's something that we've kind of discussed, or maybe even had little jokes about before, so that person automatically knows what we're talking about. So it can get really kind of freaky sometimes.
I don't think that we have any distinct or unique type of communication, except that we always understand each other's facial expressions and mannerisms so well that we know what each other's thinking.
We definitely talk with jokes all the time. We have, over the years, so many inside jokes that we can refer to these kind of strange incidents or things from like years ago. And in a normal conversation, we can be speaking in so many like jokes and things that other people just like can't understand what we're talking about sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's unique to being a twin or just being really, really close to somebody, but definitely we talk to each other in a way that makes it difficult for other people to follow or understand.
I feel like, well, one, she'll either answer for me or we'll end up finishing each other's sentences or feeding each other ideas of what she was trying to say to keep her on track.
I also feel like with our twin language, I just honestly know what she wants by just looking at her. We don't really have to say anything.
If you're nervous and you need somebody to take over to keep communication going, then I automatically know when I'm supposed to step in.
You're right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Like sometimes we'll just be out and like we'll see something like
Mm-hmm.
or hear something like just it could be like half a second
Yeah.
long, but it'll spark the same memory with both
Yeah.
of us, and then we'll both be thinking about it.
And then the other day we had this weird situation where I was coming into the room and Ivan said a line, I was like, Ivan, were you seriously thinking about Thomas Lennon? And I was thinking about Thomas Lennon at the exact same moment, but for different reasons.
Yeah, and like we both talked about how I got to thinking about Thomas Lennon, how he got to it was completely different.
Yeah, but we were both, both led to us both thinking about Thomas Lennon,
Stuff
the
like that,
actor,
like,
at the exact same time.
So this is kind of like the previous question, but maybe a little broader. So I think some things that people have noticed with us, we used to have a roommate from St. Louis, and she said that sometimes when Ashley and I would speak together, we would be so relaxed with each other that we would kind of mumble. And so we can understand each other, but our roommate said that she couldn't understand us. And I think it's just because we're so comfortable. And some people say we have similar speech mannerisms, similar voices, similar mannerisms in general. But I don't think this is more than other sisters. Maybe the same as sisters who are really close. Mm-hmm. Like normal friends or normal sisters, we're normal, but like other sisters or friends, we have inside jokes just like for each other. And yeah, like non-twins.
I think a lot of people notice, they said that when we talk really close to each other, like face to face. Or they say that we like might touch each other when we talk, like I might touch her shoulder and start talking to her or something. That's what other people say about us. And then what was the other five? What are the patterns of fear?
Well, see, as far as inside jokes, I do feel like we have a lot of inside jokes. I mean, we've been together for 25 years, so with any relationship, you're going to have inside jokes and unclear speech. And as far as the mannerisms, again, it's usually a lot of laughing depending on what's being said and what we're talking about.
We had, in undergrad, we had these friends that noticed that whenever we were sitting across the room from each other, we'd be making these weird hand gestures and these weird kind of movements and like noises.
Facial expressions.
And facial expressions.
And the other one will just start bursting out laughing.
Yeah, and then they'll make these gestures with their hands, and then the other one will just start bursting out laughing, and nobody knows what's going on. So,
it's a lot of inside jokes.
A lot of inside jokes.
It's a lot of
it. But it gets pretty freaky.
And
but
sometimes
it's also,
we'll have friends, and like the longer we hang out with them, the more in on it they get. They'll,
and then all of our friends will start getting in on our twin stuff if they're really close to us. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
People really want to get in on it.
They're always like, man, I wish I had
a twin. So it's something we definitely don't take for granted. He's coul. He's a good.
He's definitely gotten it. We wouldn't be where we were today if we didn't have each other there with us the whole time to
that's the God's
help
honest
us,
truth.
guide a story we've got.
My friend Natalie has themed something just called Twin Talk. That's when we're talking about a certain subject and we both get really excited. And then she says we talk really fast. Sometimes we don't always use complete sentences because we can infer what the other one is thinking or going to say, and we laugh and giggle a lot. So I think we're being understandable to the public, but apparently it's not, because everyone's like, oh, just Twin Talk. I don't know what they're saying.
I think the biggest one is how people always comment how they don't like having the conversation or trying to have a conversation with the two of us because me and you always talk to each other, but we're having two conversations at once. And it's really hard for other people to follow, but we've always talked that way. So I can be telling you a story, you can be telling me about something different, we can be answering each other, making comments about each other, while carrying on like several conversations at once.
Sometimes they just can't understand us because we'll start saying something and then we don't finish the thought. We just kind of we start saying it, then the other person, we can kind of read each other's face and see that they get what we're saying, and we don't have to continue.
When we were both in high school, we took Spanish at our high school, and then when I came to college, I took a year of Spanish, and Ashley only took one semester of Spanish. And it wasn't at the same time, so even though we both studied Spanish, we didn't really study it together. Yeah, and even in our separate studies of Spanish, we didn't really help each other that much just because we were never together in the Spanish context. Another language that we both studied is Bulgarian. And so I would say that I studied that on and off for about 3 years, and I never took a formal class. I just learned with an online program and through conversational practice. And I studied as well around the same time, but Andrea usually spent more time studying grammar, written Bulgarian. She studied it more in depth than I did. We both traveled to Bulgaria together, and we helped each other speak some, so we did help each other, but Andrea could communicate more in Bulgarian than I could, I think, just because she seemed more interested or she tried more.
Yeah, so we did have a little bit of like language accountability. Like we would help each other try to remember words, try to communicate with other Bulgarian speakers. So that was probably the best example of collaboration in language.
Yeah. And now we're studying Turkish a little bit. We have Turkish friends. We've bought some Turkish books, some Turkish dictionaries. So I think we both studied a little bit on and off, just basic words, but I've studied a little bit more than Andrea. I don't know why. Maybe my schedule had a better fit for it, or maybe I was more interested. So sometimes we help each other. Usually I teach her some words that I learn. If she learns something I don't, she shares with me.
And we are both studying languages, but we're not learning them together. I'm learning American Sign Language, and Shay is learning Spanish. I don't know. She says that I may be the better one at learning language, but I don't see that. I don't know, but she says it. So
I think she's better because what could be the... Oh yeah, because the next question is what can be the contributing factor. I think it's because she's probably a lot more patient.
Something we did do, I guess, whenever we were in college, even though we were studying different languages, we would practice with each other. You know, I guess I get really nervous about speaking Spanish or speaking Arabic to other people, but, you know, with Elena, there's like no filter. I can say or do whatever I want with no fear of judgment. So I would always practice my Spanish or Arabic with her. I'd always, like, around her, just try to speak things. And I think that through that, Elena was able to actually improve her Spanish and learn some Arabic as well.
Yeah, definitely. With my Spanish, I'm not very good at remembering words to actually speak, but when I hear things, I recognize them because you would talk to me in Spanish a lot.
Yeah, I think with your German as well, the same thing kind of happened. You would practice your German around me, and I kind of picked up some general phrases like good morning or how are you and things like that just from you speaking those to me as well. So I think that we were helpful to each other because we did learn from listening to each other. For us, it just depended on who was more motivated, not really who was better able to learn.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's pretty much our SLA like histories together. I don't really know if being twins has an effect on our language learning. I think it's more just sharing interest and sharing time and experiences together where we help each other in that way.
I do think that being together a lot and being involved in the same things, the same classes, maybe going on the same trips provides a lot more in language accountability, and it motivates me more to study when I know Andrea's studying and we could try to have a conversation in the foreign language, or we could talk about the pronunciation or vocabulary. So I do think being a twin could have a positive effect on language learning if you collaborate or keep each other accountable.
And this is Darwin. I'm 99.9% positive that he's a multiple.